All right, so I just got home from training, 7 a.m. class. So I will just kind of clean up all of my gear. I already cleaned it at the gym, but I think it's always a good idea to wipe them off maybe twice. So I have this disinfectant wipes from Germany, but I also bought some here in Bangkok. And while I'm doing that, I really want to talk about kind of staying in shape, or how I like to call it, staying in a capable condition, capable body, the older you get. So for those of you who don't know, I'm getting close to 50. And for me personally, I wouldn't say I'm fitter than other people, but I would argue I'm currently in the best shape of my own personal life, although I am getting older. And comparatively to other persons in my age, I would also argue that I'm in fairly good shape, and also doing martial arts or combat sports and having really good sparring sessions the last few days. I would also argue I'm also capable to some degree to defend myself. But this is not what I kind of want to talk about today, because a couple of videos ago where I talked about the philosophy of Kaizen and continuous improvement, cleaning up your house in small little chunks, and kind of with the philosophy of it's better to maintain than to have to restore and completely repair, with this Japanese philosophy where you are, in air quotes, supposed to kind of maintain your home, maintain your workspace, and continuously try to improve instead of waiting something to break down and then having potentially to do a very heavy restoration that potentially could set back production for a long time. And I do feel like that your body is the same way. If you don't maintain your body in good shape, and I'm not speaking of like getting buff or anything, I'm speaking about, as I previously said, about staying capable, being able to lift stuff. And I'm not saying like lifting dumbbells, but hey, sometimes you gotta buy some water, right? So in Germany we have this big crates of water that are filled with glass bottles. Those are heavy. If you cannot lift them, it's not the older you get, because you have muscle loss, and therefore without enough muscles, I'm not a doctor, so please excuse if that is not medically completely correct, but I would argue the less muscles you have surrounding, for example, a joint, there is a high risk of you injuring it yourself. So it's not only about kind of being able to lift that crate of water, but also it's about lifting and preventing you from kind of what's the English word? Kind of damaging your back or your wrist, right? So that's what I mean by staying capable. Or for those of you who have children, I would argue you want to be able to lift up your kid as long as you possibly can. So that is what I mean by kind of staying capable and maintaining your body. Because the older you get, as I said, there is a muscle loss, but also, let's be totally realistic here. I cannot go into a competitive fight anymore. Maybe not necessarily because I can't or because I don't want to, but more importantly, I don't recover as fast as a 20-year-old. So even if, I wouldn't say I would win, but I would argue maybe I could deal out some damage, but that person, that 20-year-old kid, would damage me even more. And my recovery time, that person's recovery time would probably just be like 2 or 3 weeks or something. Some of those kids can even go fight the next week. me as an almost 50-year-old probably would need 3 months or something if I would be totally damaged, got some kind of concussions and stuff like that from head kicks or something like that, or being thrown to the ground. So yeah, I would argue recovery time, the older you get, is the more dangerous. Takes a much longer time, and that's what I mean by it's better to maintain than to have to restore something, because the older we get, restoration, repairs will take so much longer than when you were kind of younger. So, long story short, I personally think or believe, let's say it that way, because I'm not a physical trainer, fitness trainer, or a doctor or anything, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But I would argue that the older you get, the more likely, I think that is actually fact, but don't name me down on this. The older you get, the more likely you have muscle loss. So it's really important to have resistance training or some form of training to keep that muscle loss to a minimum as possible. I also take creatine for that, so that I can somewhat slow down my muscle loss. So that is important. Then also important, you don't want to injure yourself, because recovery will take much longer, and you want to stay as capable for your daily life as possible. So one of the things that I've seen very often on YouTube is that people, the older you get, have so much more difficulties standing up when they fall down. And that is basically the reason for their legs not being able to do a squat. And I'm not saying that you need to be able to do a squat, but let's be real. When you fall down, it's basically a squat. You need to get up from the ground upwards. And many people, the older you get, they are not capable of doing that. So there are so many situations in life where you need a capable body, and where it is detriment that you are able to help yourself. Again, going back to the example of falling down. You will fall down when you get older, and you want to be able to stand up as long as possible. And you see this typical, I did that too when I got into my 30s, and I was like, oh, I'm so old. This typical groan when you stand up, and that is normal for many people in our society, because we believe when you're 30, you're old. Life is over, but it's not. And again, I feel like I'm currently in the best shape of my life. I mean, I'm going to Muay Thai training here in Bangkok with 35 degrees Celsius twice per day for 90 minutes per session. So I feel great, and I feel somewhat prepared to keep my body capable. And I'm not saying shape, I'm intentionally saying capable, because I feel like there is a misconception about working out is all about looking good and being healthy. I feel like looking good is like a bonus. And obviously there is the whole other spectrum. For example, like bodybuilders. And no front towards bodybuilders, but there is the argument that the more muscle you have, the bulkier you get, the less movable you are. And you also see, for example, there are now so many on YouTube, these really bulky fitness guys who think, oh, I weigh 200 kilograms and I'm pure muscle and everything. And then they say like, okay, I can beat everyone up. And then they go to a sparring session and they gas out so quickly. So there is an argument that, like with everything in life, if you overdo it, you probably will, the more you do it in one direction, the more trade-offs you have into the other direction. So that is why I feel it's very important for me personally to say, for me it is important to stay capable. It's not about staying or becoming like body aesthetics or healthy because I'm fit. No. Healthy is the right word, but I feel like so many fitness gurus in my mind overdo it a little bit with, okay, I'm only eating chicken, rice, and broccoli, because that wouldn't be life for me as well. I also want to enjoy life. I want to eat like a burger or something, and not do that. So that's why I'm kind of staying away from this fitness direction, and this bodybuilding direction. And that's why I'm saying it's, for me personally, it's all about staying capable in terms of being able to, I'm doing squat so I can stand up. I do a deep squat or sit in deep squat because I want my legs to be as capable as possible. I do combat sports because A, it's fun for me, and B, I feel like it's a whole body workout without kind of having the fear of bulking up, and then also the benefit of potentially being able to protect myself in dangerous situations. And yeah, I feel it is, the older I get, it is more important to stay capable and to prevent this deterioration of my body as much as possible. Yeah, all right, so this was my video about staying capable the older you get. So what are your thoughts about this? What are you implementing? And I think it's really important for me also to say, like I mentioned in many of my other videos, but I also mentioned in this beginning of this continuous improvement. And what was the word? Kata. Hold on, I wrote it down. Well, where was it? Kaizen, continuous improvement, and tackle small things, small improvement. Don't tackle the whole house, tackle it by small things. It's, or like I always say with saving money, rather save small amounts instead of getting kind of discouraged by the thought of, okay, I have to save 100 euros per week. That will discourage you, and it's better, in my humble opinion, to start small. And that's the same thing with keeping your body capable. It's not about, in my humble opinion, it's not about doing something really effectively and having the risk of discouraging yourself. For example, everyone would argue doing 2 sit-ups, 2 push-ups per morning would be ineffective. And I would argue that is probably true. If you want to think about it like, okay, I want to build muscle, I want to stay fit. But if you do it like that, do 1 push-up per day, 1 sit-up per day for 2 weeks, it's just like brushing teeth. It becomes a habit of your day. Instead of like, okay, I'm going to the gym once per week, and then it's Friday, and then you think to yourself, okay, tomorrow is gym day. And then you think to yourself, oh, but I worked the whole week. Okay, it's a commute to the gym, 20 minutes, changing, okay, so, and working out, maybe an hour, changing again, but going back home, do I want to shower at the gym or shower at home? Okay, I shower at home. Okay, that's all in all, maybe 2.5 hours. Oh, am I really want to do that? And then you potentially say, no, I don't. And yes, going to the gym for 1 hour would have been effective, but that's 3 hours of your life that would be, in air quotes, easy to justify not going. And if you can implement it with these small things, as I said, 1 or 2 push-ups per day, but you do it every day when you wake up, and it's just like brushing your teeth. Or you stand in front of the sink and you brush your teeth. 1 squat, brush. 2 squat, brush, Do squats while brushing your teeth. But not much. Don't overexert yourself. It's, instead of kind of trying to be effective, try to be as minimal as possible to lower the barrier of entry, to implement it daily into your life, and then not become the fit person, but become the person that trains, that tries to stay capable. Small things that accumulate over time and over time, continuous improvement with small little tasks that you can do in between. And slowly and slowly you add on top of these little exercises, and suddenly you do 10 push-ups per day. A year later, maybe 50 push-ups per day, because it's just like, okay, I woke up, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, continuous, you know. As soon as something becomes a habit, it's so easy. You know, it's yeah, as I said, just like brushing teeth. Okay, now let's finish this video up. Let me know what are your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Maybe check out that video about Kaizen. Check it out up here. YouTube things that like the video down here. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking the button up here. That way we see each other in the next video. Thank you very much.